All right. How's it going? Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of Figma Decal. Woo! Thank you all for coming. This week, we're going to be talking about pen tools and vectors. So I hope we're in the mood to do some drawing. And here's a breakdown of today. We'll start off by talking a little bit about user research and testing, and then we'll move on to the meat of the lecture, which is really talking about this vector tool, some masking, and how do we actually, draw some cool curves in Figma. Then we'll talk about some composition and spacing. Here's the attendance form. As always, it's right there. Here's the slide deck link. I'm going to ask everyone to go to this link, see the slides, and make your own personal copy. I've also wrote the link on the board, but I'm going to spend about a minute on this slide to let everyone write this down. All right, so if you didn't get it, again, it's on the board, but please make a copy of these slides for your own convenience and so you can work on the demo with us today. But first, let's talk about user research. What is user research? User research is what helps us designers understand the behaviors, needs, wants, and motivations of our users. We do this by empathizing with our users and trying to understand what needs are not being met, What are their pain points? How can we help them have a better experience using our product? And good user research will help us pinpoint these exact problems, and so we can then ideate and try to create solutions to combat these. In empathizing with our users, we are ensuring that we are working to respond to an existing problem, and not one that it doesn't necessarily help the user or maybe correlate with their needs. Here are some methods that allow us to get information from our users. We can send out surveys, right? Google Forms, physical forms. This helps us collect a large amount of data, spread these out to a vast audience. We can always do interviews. These can be one-on-one or in groups. These allow us to pick up on more subtle hints, maybe in body language. We can sort of dig deep, ask some real qualifying questions, and get some subjective data. And then there's contextual inquiry, where we can observe people reacting in the environment. And a lot of these are maybe observational studies, where you can have users sort of just use your app, and you just watch how they use your app. And maybe you can take note of what buttons they press frequently. Maybe you can tweak the design based on some information about how they do that. Fun fact, Figma did that about a year ago when they did some pretty massive UI changes. They just sat down with a bunch of designers and just watched how they used Figma. And that's when they decided to sort of move the prototyping menu on the screen next to the components. Anyways, little tidbit. But what are users' pain points? They can be bugs or problems that they face when their experience with the app does not align with their expectations. So spotting these pain points is very important. So, that's the first step in allowing us to innovate and solve it. Here's a helpful diagram of some of these hierarchical relationships between pain points. Here's some examples. No internet. That's a big one that always killed me when I was a kid. Whenever I wanted to go on my computer and play Pop Tropica, and I couldn't. It was heartbreaking, to say the least. But maybe in today's world, this can hinder our ability to zoom into class or zoom into work. Bad live time tracking. I don't know about you all, but I always use the transit app, and it always is like so weird if the bus is super far and it like lags. Anyways, have not actually missed a bus due to this app, but it's happened, and that's not great. Or another example is poor website organization. Lack of clarity, bad contrast might make it hard for users to navigate the page. I do, however, love this website. I think this is super awesome and fun. But from a practical standpoint, maybe not the best we can do. So how do we sort of take these bugs and go from there? So, for example, this bug of not having internet, not being able to work from home, we can then try to understand that and try to think of some solutions to this unmet need. So what could solve this? Getting a better internet connection, finding a different space with an internet connection, or maybe there's an alternate way this user can call into meetings without needing Wi-Fi. Any questions on what we just went over on pain points? No. Okay, let's talk about user testing. What is user testing? This allows us to sort of validate our thoughts. This is going to follow our prototyping stage, and this allows us to test the functionality of our prototypes. Through observing how users interact with the prototypes, we can sort of understand how effective our design really is, find areas that need improvement, get some pain points from users, and start to ideate. So user testing, we can think of concept testing, where we create some lo-fi prototypes to test out. We could do A/B testing, where we create two prototypes with different versions of a certain variable and compare the performance these two prototypes have. Another example is focus groups, where we can gather ideas and opinions from a larger group on a specific topic. So Netflix did some A/B testing. You might have noticed that your favorite show has a different icon occasionally. So this allows Netflix to test the efficacy of these icons. And so you can see here, Netflix decided to vary the best artwork for films to improve their streaming hours on Stranger Things. That's kind of cool, a little behind the scenes of what, previously I just thought, oh, new Stranger Things intro dropped, but no, this is an actual data collection method that Netflix was experimenting with. So yeah, variety of thumbnails, and designers sort of pick different user groups within Netflix, within the app, based on probably certain metrics and variables. And they observed like the engagement, click rate, probably how long the users spent watching Stranger Things. Maybe like, did this certain thumbnail collect new users into Stranger Things? Maybe one's more alluring than the other. Cool stuff like that. And so the difference between user testing and usability testing, user testing is going to determine the need or demand for the product. Who are my target users? What are their pain points? How do they use my product? And usability testing is like how functional it actually is. So can my users navigate throughout my product? Does this interface make sense? What do my users think about it? So some usability testing. First click. What is the first thing the user does when they load up on, for example, this website? What is the first thing they go to? Here you can play with different colors. Recently, I saw this tweet, actually today, where people saw a 40% increase in upgrades to the premium version of their service when they changed their icon in the menu bar to have like a little notification dot. That little red thing in the upper right corner, that's really annoying. There's a lot of science behind that causes like people to just want to click on it. That's cool. Screen recording. You can remotely record users using your prototype That just allows, some flexibility for users to let you see what they're up to, how they're doing it. The 5-second test is what information can the users recall after just working or just observing your prototype for 5 seconds, right? That initial impression is really important. There's a more classic one. Paper prototyping is drawing out your interface and observing how users interact with it. I don't know. We can have a debate about whether or not this is obsolete. Figma is, again, prototyping tool. Do we really need to draw out this prototype on paper? CS160, which I teach, swears by this, and we actually, we say no iPads, no digital drawing tools. Please write it down by hand. And there's a number of benefits to that. Remember that the design thinking process, not linear. A lot of different converging and diverging aspects. User testing can reveal insights that, might not have one singular solution. You might have to branch out and find a bunch of different ways to tackle the problem. With that, any questions before we move on to pen tool? No? I was super awesome and clear with everything I said? Great, yes. Okay, I'm gonna hand this over to Katy.
Unfortunately, you guys have to listen to me talk for the rest of the lecture. I'm sorry. So now we're going to talk about vector networks in the pen tool. So you might or might not be familiar with like what vector graphics are. And it's basically like the same as an image, but with a whole lot of math behind it. So it makes like really smooth lines, curves, and shapes and stuff, but all without like losing the quality of like the actual piece. So you'll notice like with like raster images, which are like JPEGs, like when you resize it or you like put it from one software to another, it gets like really pixelated and stuff, and it's not good quality anymore. That doesn't happen with vectors. So yeah, like in contrast to apps like Photoshop, Procreate, Clip Studio, Paint, stuff like that, which are all raster graphics, vectors maintain like their quality, and it's like very easy to use them in other softwares and stuff like that. Yeah, so you might be wondering like what vector graphics look like. It's not really like a style of like art or anything, but more of a method. So you'll see like all these examples. One of them is like, or a few of them are like past Figma staff people, but you notice like they all have different styles artistically, but they're all made using vectors. So, they're all like shapes and stuff that have a lot of math behind them, so you can use them and other things more easily, basically. But yeah, they're not synonymous with flat design, tech art, or corporate graphic styles. So you can do anything you want with vectors. So in Figma, we use the pen tool a lot to make vectors. And you'll notice like it's in the top toolbar, one of like the main tools you use. And it looks like a fountain pen icon, or the shortcut is P. So that's very useful to know. So vector edit mode, it's basically a fancy way of saying that you can edit your vector. So when you're in vector edit mode, also like your toolbar changes a bit in the top left. So you can edit like your nodes and like the curvature of your vector, and like there's a paint bucket tool. But yeah, it's just a fancy word for the vector itself, basically. Yeah, so also like when you're in this vector edit mode, any changes you make are encompassed in one vector network. So basically, while you're in it, you can change, you can add things, and then when you exit the mode, all of that stuff that you just made inside is one object or treated as one layer. So like in this example of the picture, like the here and the there, they're like separate, they're not all connected, but they're all part of one vector network. So when you go out of vector edit mode, you can like move it all the same, and they're treated as one object. So to create a vector, when you click, you can place what's called a node. It's basically like a point. And then it looks like a little circle. And then when you click again, you can connect another node to that node to make a line or a vector. The whole thing is vector. Yeah, so like the default when you make a node or a line is like 0.1 stroke and it's black. So yeah, you can also like make a shape with the nodes if you like make more and then like close it together. Yeah, pretty simple to understand. So editing your vectors, when you want to go into vector edit mode, you can just like double click on the shape that you just made or any line you made. And then you'll see like all your toolbars change. And then you can like select and press enter. And then you can also press like the square vector icon in the toolbar as you watch this GIF. It's pretty much what's happening. You can also delete nodes while you're in it. So while you're in vector edit mode, if you just click one of the circles, you'll see like it changes color to blue, and then you can delete it, and then all the other ones will still be there. Very editable like that. Yes, again, so like shape tools, every time you make a shape, that is its own vector. So you can also like double click it to enter vector edit mode and like move it around node by node, or like change, add a node, subtract a node, that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay. So some stroke properties. As you can see in this GIF, like there's caps, there's colors, there's points, alignment, all this fancy stuff, which you'll find in your design panel on the right, under the word stroke. So you can change the color of it, you can change how thick it is. When you have like a closed shape, you can also change like the alignment, which is like the stroke displayed is it going to be like on the outside of like the actual line that you made, or the inside, or on the center. The caps are like the ends of lines, so you can make it like straight or like rounded. And then join is basically where there's a corner, and you can like change it to be like a perfect 90-degree angle, or like a slash, so it's like another line basically, or just rounded. And then you can also make lines like dashes or dots, and that's all like in the stroke panel if you click like 3 dots. Yeah. Also, if you want, like you can play around with these tools as we talk about them in your file. Yeah, also in vector edit mode is the paint bucket and fill. So when you're in the vector edit mode, you'll see on your toolbar, it looks like a little like diamond with like half of it filled in white. And then when you have like a shape that's closed, or with multiple like closed sections like this one, you can basically like drop a whole color into that space. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Again, like you've probably been using this for a long time, but in case you don't remember, your selection tool, which is like the shortcut V, very useful. You can like duplicate things by holding Alt or Option and dragging. And you can also flip things doing like Shift H, which is horizontal, or Shift V, which is vertical. But you probably already know that. All right, so let's practice the vector tools. Oh, like a stroke. That's a good question. I know, like, I'm pretty sure you can't. Well, let's see. If you increase the stroke and then you add an arrow. I know like it changes the arrow size with the stroke. So you could like make a new line and then like add it over the top if you want. Is there anyone? Yeah. Sorry. Like if you have this, and then if you make another like that. There. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, if you can open up like your file, if you've made a copy of the lecture slides, you can go to like the demo page and then play around with the pen tool. So the shortcut is P again, and then you place a node, and then you can place more, and you can even complete the shape. You can also like add on within the shape that you made. So like I have my mouse like connected to this node, and then I can create another one on another segment of the shape I did. Yeah. And then like the paint bucket tool. So if you press on it, you'll see like when you hover over the shape while in vector edit mode, you can like add, there's a little like add symbol, and then you can like drop a color into that space and change the color. And then you can keep doing it for the other ones, or you can like subtract the color. Yeah. Any questions about the pen tool so far or vectors? Nice. So sad when you can't see what I'm doing. Okay. Shall okay. I hope you guys are all playing around with the pen tool. Very fun, right? Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if maybe at the end. After we go for it. See you. Well, you can keep playing around with the pen tool. We'll do more of that. But we're going to move on to Bezier curves. Do a little crash course on that. What is this cool French word? This is a really nice image. Basically, Figma is way better than Adobe Illustrator. And this is all you need to know. But I don't know why that was there, honestly. But Bezier curves. So basically, this guy named Pierre Bezier, we love him because he invented Bezier curves for the purpose to design cars in the 1960s. History, blah blah blah. He was French, yeah. But basically, we as designers adopt this concept to make like very perfect aesthetic curves with our lines. Yeah, you can think of them as a way to just create smooth, scalable curves. They are just vector curves, basically. So like the anatomy of a Bezier curve, you have like the path, which is like the line that you create. And then on that line, there are nodes. And like the selected node just looks like a blue circle in Figma. And then you have handles, which is like really what's new about a Bezier curve. It's basically like a way to change the angle of the curve and stuff like that. And they're shown as like tangential lines, tangential, on the node. So it's attached to the node, and then you can change the handles to create a different curve. It's really like a trial and error process to like what you want it to look like, and like if you're making it to like trace something, it's kind of like a lot of adjusting and stuff like that, but you get the hang of it. And we will practice. But yeah. So in your vector panel on the right, when you have a curve selected, there's different settings for the handles also. So basically you can adjust manually the like position of the handle using the X and Y position in the vector thing, but that's not really that important, to be honest. But there's also like mirroring angle and length with the handles. So you can have 3 settings, either no mirroring, which like you only have one handle adjusted at a time, and that like usually creates corners. Mirror angle is like the curve is semi-smooth, but it kind of varies on each side since the lengths are different. And then mirror angle and length, which basically makes it very smooth. And that's probably the most important one to use for now. So intersecting nodes. You'll notice like in this GIF, if you make 2 separate lines, they're not like really connected together. But you can do that by creating a node between them. So if you have like multiple line segments that you want to like keep together, you can add an intersecting node by placing like a new node right where the paths meet, and that'll be shown like in your vector edit mode. There's a small like plus sign when you hover over the intersection. Yeah, so vectors, it's pretty hard to grasp at first and like how to make your own. So if you want some more practice, here's some videos from like Figma, the company, not us. But yeah, I would recommend doing like these short 7-minute videos if you just want some more practice and knowledge about vectors. All right, so now that you've learned about Bezier curves, let's also try that out. Okay, so I have some of these curves here. So in your demo space, you can go to the pen tool and then let's make a curve. So you can place one node down first, and then you can either like, as you're clicking for your second node, you can drag it out while you still have it like clicking down, and then it'll create your Bezier curve there. And then automatically when you go to place your third node, it'll already be curved. And then, yeah. So you can basically make the curves as you go, or you can do it at the end. For example, if you want to make a new line, you can place like all your nodes before making any curves, and then like escape or enter to like finish the line. And then if you go to this bend tool in the top left in vector edit mode, it looks like just a little curved line. You can go in and manually bend any of the nodes that you just placed. And yeah, obviously this looks really weird, but yeah. Let's see. Okay. Going to the prompts now. An animal? It's pretty hard. Okay. Okay, we're gonna do a little challenge for you guys. Keep you on your toes. We're gonna challenge you to draw your favorite animal or a animal using the pen tool only. I'll give you 10 minutes to do so, and then we will vote for a winner after. Yeah. So use that pen tool, use those Bezier curves, use that vector edit mode. I can't wait to see all the fruition of your knowledge. If you have questions, please raise your hand. It's amazing.
Surely.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, wait, you stopped by?
That's very, here's a popular nostalgia.
Oh, I love this song.
So big fan of this one. Like Sean, you remember that song? Photoshop.
Oh, you make yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Say about 6 minutes ago.
Round robin. That's kind of sad. I'm pretty sure if you try holding command while you do the next one, if that doesn't work, then that's probably illustrated. Good job. Oh yeah, that one's. I'm pretty sure it uses Rachel.
I think my data date today.
Oh really? It's very hard. Let me see.
Oh, it's-
Oh. Oh wait, no, it's not Kaijin. It's someone else that did this.
Okay, 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning.
Oh, this is all my like colleagues and most my favorite. I'm not sure if we're
Where you see this is a thinker, and this is not what I'm not happy with this, but I don't know how to think about it. You have the advantage of this y'all.
Oh, I remember.
This is like a.
Usually it's something like that. Oh. I think this is words spoken on campus, right? Yeah.
Are you talking about like the personalized image?
He wants to know.
If I could replicate the angle.
Oh.
This whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I think that's better.
Okay. I hope everyone has an animal. We're gonna be doing tournament style.
Fight to the death. The animals.
Just with the person, the group next to you. You're gonna come up with your favorite animal between the two of you. And then from there, we'll go again with the winners until we have a singular person standing. So, I'm excited.
Let the tournament commence.
And you two in the front, Sarah. Like eliminate my souls.
No.
Share
That
this
seems
after
sad.
and talk about why. You agree to that? You want to? I don't even know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go with the cow. It's like a mic.
I just wanted to say that other.
Not sure. I mean, for the eye is like it's hard. to open up. Thanks. Panda? Oh, it's okay. So pandas have a little, you know, you can't really see their eye because it's all the things. You can just try to.
Okay.
When I say that, oh, okay, all right. That's super simple.
Okay. Hope we chose a winner. Round 2 starts. It's the winners. Yeah. Who won over here? Right here? Can you move to the back? All right.
So I
No wonder, it's really not. I really sad. But I think I need to go.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm right, it's very.
I love it. It looks like the,
I was gonna be good after, and then you just be. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think we both.
Okay, but you three should share.
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah. I'm good.
I like yours, it has the spider.
Well, I need it to. Here's all day for that. Actually, because I thought that was the whole point. I don't know. Is this for like, I didn't know guys the tags. Exactly.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's scary. The reason you're just like, oh my god, it's so many. I would have built. That's like really good.
The expectation was set too high.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna hide it. But it's, Okay, okay. Could our winners come to the front with their computers?
Victor circle.
Like we're all lost.
We played 100 games music.
We're gonna be presenting to the class. Everyone else. Stand up, let's huddle around, see what our winners have to offer.
It's cute, I like it.
Maybe we should move up here. Should we use this stage?
Oh.
Okay, sorry, I lied. Our winners come up here with their computers. You gotta move again.
Just fall for me, I accidentally used the pen tool, I mean the pencil tool.
It's okay. We also learned the pencil tool already.
Pencil tool's valid. Your computer, you can just like put them up here. Yeah.
Whoa.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Gather around, critiquing what we see here.
That's so
Oh.
cute. It's really cute. So, it's really, I like your shirt. Thank you so much.
Wait, is it these two?
The third.
Wait, but yours here.
Gather around.
Yay.
Wow. Amazing job. Can we just get a hand right now?
Great job.
What do we like about these? I'll just start by saying nice things. I like how the shrimp is colored. Actually, I like pearl.
I like the colors in the clothing too.
That's super happy.
Yeah, I like the comment.
I like the full body shot.
And is very polite.
Polite man.
I like the round. Very round.
I like how it's round yet sharp at the same time.
It has like a sharp head, like round ears. I think that's an interesting the contrast.
For sure, for sure. Anything else anyone would like to add?
I like how kind of simplified yet that the script is. He's like, he didn't have to use much lines, but it's so obvious that it's him.
It looks like a continuous line.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's okay, you told us.
It was, it totally was.
Poetic.
There's
There's a fancy. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. This is just an impromptu exercise.
Thank you.
In a normal crit, compliment sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Normally we'd say like, if I'm being critical, then I would change, X, Y, Z. But then this is a fun animal exercise. I don't think there's really anything to critique about.
You just learned it today also, so these are everyone did a really good job. You should all give yourselves a round of applause. Woo! For participating, or if you didn't, then it's okay, but you're in the atmosphere of participation. So yeah, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for humoring this
Yeah.
activity.
Think about it. And congrats to the Thanks.
Yeah, like 3 of us won.
Oh my God.
Yay. What's after this? Okay. It's crazy.
You don't-
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on with the boring lecture. We're gonna talk about masking and Boolean operations. I'll try to like go through the rest of this kind of quickly. So masks are basically like a cutout. You can like take any shape or any like part, a vector thing that you make, and you can like contain other things inside of it, like a picture or other vectors, stuff like that. It's basically like a frame, but it's called mask. And everything like above the mask layer that you choose will be contained inside of it. So like, for example, this cat, you'll see like it's a circle. The circle is the mask, and then like the image of the cat is being masked on top of the circle. And how you do this is like you have like the picture or anything you want that's going to be contained, and then the shape or vector that you're going to use as the mask, and then you put the mask underneath like the image, for example, and then the button on the top, like in the middle with like the circle and like half moon, that's your mask tool. So while you have like the two things selected, the mask and the things that are going to be masked, you can hit the mask tool and then it'll like contain everything in there. And then you can also move things around. So if you double click on like the object itself, you can move around the thing inside the mask. Yeah, there's also a shortcut for masks. It's Control Command M for Mac, Control Alt M for Windows. And yeah, also keep in mind like your layers for masks. Basically the thing that is like the shape is at the bottom, and then everything that's contained in it is above it. So yeah. You can like put multiple things, multiple layers inside a mask also. So if you like hold shift select the things that you want to put in it, you can like manually put it in your layer of the mask or the mask group, and then it'll all be contained in there. Yeah. Any questions about masks? Okay, cool. Next we have Boolean operations, which is not like the Boolean you're probably familiar with, but this is like basically manipulating shape layers. So you can either like combine shapes with the union selection, or subtract like the shape in front with subtract. Intersect is like whatever is intersecting between those two shapes, that's the only thing that remains, or the opposite of that, which is exclude. And that's also when you have like two things selected, two shapes that you can do this operation on, this button will pop up on the like top middle next to the mask. So yeah, union, subtract, intersect, exclude. They're pretty self-explanatory as well. A quick demo for this. So if we go here, if you have like some rectangles, let's make some squares. Oh. And let's make another one. Okay, so this one is like in front, as you can see. Let me just duplicate these real quick. Oh my gosh. Okay. So while you have like both of these squares selected, you'll see at the top, the little button with like the two squares. If you do the drop down, you can like union them so they become one shape. You'll notice like the outlines, like a new outline is created around like the perimeter of both. So the intersecting paths are not there anymore. You can also do the subtract. So it subtracts whatever was in front from behind, and then you're left with that shape. You can also do the intersect. So whatever was intersecting between those is left. And then the opposite is exclude, which is like the opposite of the last one. Any questions about these so far? Okay. They're very fun for when you're like making shapes and stuff. All right. Last we'll talk about like composition and spacing in general. So like visual hierarchy, like spacing and grids in Figma. So visual hierarchy is very important to make like your designs very easy to read and understand. So like what do you want the message to be of whatever you're designing. What do you want like the first thing people to see and to know? That's all like determined by your visual hierarchy. So like where things are on the page, sizing, shapes, stuff like that. Oh. So different ways to create visual hierarchy. You can do this through contrast, and this can be through like size, contrast, scale, type, colors, that kind of thing. And for all of these, we use like the Gestalt principles, which is like mix of psychology and art, basically. So like some of these are or Gestalt means shape in German. And so yeah, it's like a mix between design and psychology and like the way our brain thinks and perceives things. So yeah, we can understand or we can improve our designs by understanding these principles. So some of them are like proximity, which basically means like things that are closer together, our brain thinks are like in a group or related to each other. And then common region, like things that are in the same region are perceived as groups as well. Similarity, things with like similar properties, characteristics like shapes or colors, we think like they belong to the same group or they're similar, just like playing cards, you know, you have like your suits, colors, stuff like that. Closure is like if you have like, for example, this IBM logo, like if you look at it, fundamentally, it's just a bunch of lines. But like when you look at it far away, you can tell that the lines create like letters, even though they're not actually like letters if you look at, you know, what's actually there. But we perceive it as that because like the lines are close to each other and they kind of form a shape that's closure. Continuation is basically when things are like arranged in a line or a curve and they kind of like flow together. We kind of see that as like related information and stuff like that. Okay, so in Figma, there's like a way to make grids on your frames basically. And spacing using the grids and like other things you learn later, like auto layout, is very useful for like making your flow very predictable and user friendly and like overall aesthetic and easy to understand, which is why it's important that we talk about this. Yeah, so grids are very helpful in making like a system feel more trustworthy and consistent and predictable, which is like basic fundamental principles of design in general. So like with this example, you'll see like on the left, everything's kind of like differently spaced out at like random numbers and it's like there's no rhythm. It's like it just looks off to your brain. But on the right, even though like things are different heights, they're all like in kind of even increments of like 8 or 6, and it's more visually appealing. So you can also like define or create a spatial system that like revolves around specific units. So typically like in design, you see a lot of like increments of 4 or 8 or 6 because those are very like divisible. And it just like makes things more even and consistent throughout like the design. So like a lot of people will use like 40, or you'll see like in font sizes, like the options are all like 12, 14, 20, 28, stuff like that. So that like is the principle of, you know, these divisible numbers, which makes things more even and stuff. Yeah, so try to avoid like odd numbers. And then like if you use an odd number, you can't like, you know, find the exact middle and stuff like that. So yeah, choose like an increment that works for your design and follows these principles. Yeah, so you can also create grids in Figma. So you can do like a column grid, which helps you like organize things by like vertical columns. You can do modular, which is kind of like all the little squares and like pixels. And that just makes things like more rigid and strict in their spacing. But it doesn't allow for as much responsiveness and freedom. So that's something to keep in mind. There are also other grid systems and it can be like more complex, but they're really just like the basis of rows and columns. Yeah. Also for grids, like if you have a frame selected, you'll see like layout grid on the right design panel. So you can create like different size. If you want to do like that stuff, you can do columns and then you can like add another one for rows. and then alter like the numbers of that and stuff and spacing, but then it helps you like lay things out and make it even, stuff like that. Okay, yeah, so just wrapping up this lecture in this week, we have homework 4, which is like recreating like messenger stickers or like icons. So this one is very fun. Have fun with it. You can pick any kind of like sticker you want. And basically it's like kind of our exercise, what we did today. You just kind of like trace it, recreate it using the pen tool and paint bucket and stuff like that. So hopefully it doesn't take you too long, but have fun. And then lab 4 is more pen tool practice. So you'll be making like these fruit icons and like a picnic's little scene, and then also just practicing the pen tool. And the secret word is krill, in honor of one of our winners. So that's Krill. Yeah. So yeah. Krill. Yeah, so homework, there's also readings and then lab. And yeah, reminder again, if you can't make your lab, please message your TA. And if you have like any logistical questions about the course or anything, you can contact me or Christopher. But yeah, that's the end of today's lecture. Thank you all guys for coming and doing our little exercise. Yeah. What time is it? 6:13. Okay.